Hello everyone, my name is Bharat. I'm the global lead for Carney's product practice, and I have the honor and pleasure to welcome my friend, Niccolo De Masi, who happens to be a physicist, a businessman, an innovator, spent his entire life around products, and not only that, he had the reason to be at the top of the pyramid to see everything. He probably was the youngest CEO of a public company, served on many boards, rich wealth of product and product knowledge. Niccolo, I'm actually honored to be sitting with you and having this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time. Okay, so you know I'm a product guy, and I'm going to only talk about products. Now, the best part is you are a physicist by training. Tell me your definition of a product. What does a product mean to you? And now you have decades worth of experience from games to services to hard products to even some products that we don't like to call because three-digit agencies have to deal with you. Yeah. What does a product mean to you?
You know, I have to admit, when I look back at my career and when I was even in different roles, I have often struggled to separate a product from a service. And a lot of it's down to style points. A lot of software companies that 20 years ago were like, we don't have any products, they're all services. Particularly when everyone starts to sell everything through subscriptions. It all sort of turns into a service. The game industry, we moved from pay to download, pay up front, to what we call now as GaaS, games as a service. And games as a service was a really wrenching transformation 10 to 15 years ago. I used to have employees not just threatening to quit, but actually quitting and staging, internal revolts at game companies that I ran over the fact that they religiously did not believe that games should be free instead of paid. They didn't think that there should be basically no cap on how much the experience cost. And when I think about the rest of the world, from hardware, to Rolls-Royce with power by the hour, there's a general shift towards incrementalizing, subscribing, and trying to get recurring revenue, right? So to me, they're really, the world is a service if you can. It's only a discrete product if you haven't figured out a way to turn it into a recurring relationship, right? Web 2.0 is a recurring relationship. Web 1.0 was the Yahoo, portal in its original, sort of form. And that seems to be the clear arc of history in every industry I'm in. As you know, half my life is fundamental science, half of it is, is digital media, mostly gaming of some kind. And when I think about my quantum computing company, my satellite data company, they're still really in the discrete. Generally, most of the revenue is coming from selling, a system, a solution, one time. The recurring revenue is in the business model, but for quantum computing, it's not the majority of revenue yet. I think it will become power by the hour. I think it will be, quantum as a service. That'll happen. Satellite data is a recurring contract, but the contract lifetimes haven't been proven to the point where they are in payroll or whatever, where it's 20 years, or even in the online gaming space. There's some MMOs. I was just on the board of Jagex that I was the chairman of, and we bought it with Carlyle 3 years ago, 3 years ago. We just sold to CVC Partners earlier this week. It closed, Bharat.
Congratulations.
And that's a 20-year-old MMO in Cambridge, England, where I went to school, that's been sold half a dozen times. And what's amazing about it is kids that were teenagers are still playing it. The big difference is they have money now. So 14, 15-year-olds are now 35. They have jobs. And so it's fascinating and a big learning for me about the way the world works and the way the economy grows. We don't have more daily active users than 20 years ago, but the revenue is up enormously. The last 20 years, this is a $100 million EBITDA business that 20 years ago probably didn't have $100 million of revenue, right?
Wow. So that brings me to my other question. Seems like a service business or subscription business, or not sell a brown box as I like to call it, is good on multiple, I'd say, dimensions. As I say, what does Pearl ethos are? They're good for the company, good for the consumer, good for the planet.
Yeah.
I look at it this way. You will make more money, you'll get a better multiple, your stock value is going to be higher, enterprise value is going to be higher, and you create a captive audience, so good part out there. if the customers start loving you, they'll keep paying you. As you just told the story, they're paying more because 18-year-old didn't have money, they loved it, now they had money, they're paying you. And then good for the planet is because you are not making a lot of trash, because every time something dies, we throw it. I mean, everything. Why is it that most product companies still are brown box movers? I mean, it's not new. The gaming industry cracked it long time back.
Well, let's double click on the sort of brown box thing. So, you know, we're building quantum computers that, as I always like to jokingly say, you know, we seem in the computing industry to always be selling units of vending machines, right? So, right back to ENIAC, it's like ENIAC, we have a room full of a computer, we have a vending machine, we have a refrigerator. Once again, quantum computers are kind of the size of vending machines, you know, and you know, and we're pushing the science forward the same way that we did 70, 80 years ago in the classical world.
Same thing.
So you don't want the same vending, like you physically don't want the same 36 algorithmic qubit machine that IonQ makes. In a year or two, you hope it's 50 or 60, and it'll become a rack-mounted, you know, stackable thing in the next 4 years, is sort of the roadmap for IonQ. So there is a point in product companies where there is so much change, right, that happens year to year, that isn't really practical to say that you're going to have, you know, that box, right? I mean, automotive is the same thing. It's like the Ford, you know, Model T, like they're still around. But there's no way that I could have really sold you that as a subscription product. There's also an element, I mean, humans are fascinating, and as you know, I'm a big optimist around humans remaining in control of our destiny and the planet. You know, we're the only ones that can vote. You know, we've had 10,000 years of growing into new inventions, the steam engine, electricity. There's some really crazy stuff that's happened. Flushing toilets, plumbing, running water.
And that was all without computers.
And when these were all amazing platforms, all amazing platform machines that we're still using today, right? And we've managed to find ways to move those jobs, upskill, remain in control of the planet. There's always some displacement. I mean, people used to be heating the floors of, you know, Roman palaces, and that job doesn't exist anymore, right? But we have a bigger economy. We're still employed. So when I look at, you know, cutting edge hardware products, the brown box thing is generally a cutting edge hardware thing. It's never a cutting edge software thing anymore. People have worked out, even Adobe's worked out that you can pivot to subscriptions and away you go. Microsoft, same thing, pivot, away we go. People are kind of stuck with the brand, they're stuck with the product. But I do think that, you know, humans have emotions because of the way they've been trained and because of the connection they have almost at a hunter-gatherer level with physical objects that are different. You know, I thought at Essential Products, my Andy Rubin hardware stuff, we were going to do hardware as a service, right? And we had a financing model around that. We're going to work with Shopify. We're going to do that. To this day, right? Yes, you can click for a payment plan for an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, but even those brands, and Apple is undoubtedly a love mark, they don't bother trying to offer a lifetime subscription to iPhones, even though if anyone deserves to at this point, they have the laurels and they have the track record and they have the money and they stand behind their products and, you know, blah, 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 blah. They, you know, they have for sure an annuity relationship with customers. I think you'd be hard pressed to believe that they don't, because as you rightly pointed out, there's long-term lock-in, there's the software ecosystem, there's all your friends, and there's the whole iMessage thing, which turns into, you know, a bit of a FCC issue, you know, at times. Is, you know, there's social stigma if you're the, you know, person excluded from the group. I mean, I've heard this from teenagers, right? But, you know, but partially because, you know, I think big companies have competition commission concerns, antitrust issues, and so on. You know, the really successful ones don't push it, because it would look really terrible if you had a lifetime subscription to Apple, right? And then the really young ones don't have the brand equity and the love mark yet to demand it, right? Command it, right? So it's sort of unique. You know, it's really interesting. I think software used to be a physical product when it came on discs, and music used to be a physical product when it came on discs. And people, you know, all those subscription music, you know, clubs, like, they didn't go as far as people thought. You know, DVD clubs, book clubs. You know, I remember those were offered 80s and 90s. There was lots of Reader's Digest clubs,
the subscription
right?
DVD every 2 months.
They really never became a Netflix-sized business kind of thing. So humans have this really interesting emotive thing around physical products and feeling like they pay for them once. Whether you borrow the money or you have a loan, you put in your credit card, People feel like you pay it and you own, the vase with the flowers. Whereas with software, people have come to accept in the past 10 to 15 years that it's an ephemeral thing that you have to have upgraded, the bugs have to be removed, and you can't live without Microsoft Office, your Netflix subscription, whatever. The movie business, TV business, look what's happened, right? So we've gone from those bloody cable subscriptions people hated to the same amount of money, if not more, for like a dozen subscriptions
I think
to apps, right?
Like, definitely more.
Definitely more, right? And this never surprised me. I totally predicted this. Like 10 years ago, I'm like, I cut the cord. 10 years ago, I'm like, I don't get this. Like right now, I'm paying $50, but I'm sure I'm going to be paying $100 a month because I'm going to need, right? And sure enough, here we are in 24. Like, you've replaced the cable bundle with just a different bundle. And what I find super funny is now it's Warner and Disney are talking about like another super app bundle, right? To like remerge the, right? So, as
they
you know.
did one with ESPN and Hulu too, right? Or
yeah, exactly. No, it was like in the news, like Warner is in on the act. Like, so, Bharat, I'm a big believer, as you know, on the whole, what's old is new again. It really, to this day, I am endlessly frustrated that at Glue Mobile, I did not spot this genius idea of taking text messaging from 1999 and putting it into an app in 2011-12. Like when I first heard about, WhatsApp and all these messages, I was like, wait, are you serious? Like it's text messaging in an app? That's the thing, right? Like how is that worth $20 billion or whatever, right? Like, but it's incredible, right? I mean, if you look at the history of product innovation, all product innovation, whether you're looking at, your recent award for the Toast R oven, right, through to iMessage, which is text messaging through a data connection. What's old is new happens over and over and over in almost every industry, right? It's like fascinating to me.
So Niccolo, that brings me to a little bit, move away from the philosophical part to a little emotional part.
Sure.
You've seen a lot of products, whether they are your products or somebody else's products. What are the 3 products that inspire you?
Wow.
That you feel like, wow, I wish, or I get just inspired. I don't want to say I wish I would have done it because you can talk about your products too. You have some cool ones.
No, look, I definitely wish that I had done the WhatsApp product because I could have. I definitely wish I did the Uber product because I could have. And I knew, the first time I was in the beta program of those 2 products, you knew that was a big, bloody idea. Like you just knew, because it's such a big utility solver in a stroke. There's such a big consumer surplus to the, the overall revenue dividend that's being paid for sort of utility, right? So today, look, I absolutely believe, and I followed the quantum computing space for 25 years, and my friends are academics in the space. As you know, the first 10, 15 years, I was short on it. I won a lot of beer bets with friends at Cambridge and Oxford who were telling me they were going to devote their life to this, and I'm like, you're kidding yourself. Like, how do you know we're in 1965? Classical equivalent. How do you know we're not 1945? Like you could die.
Exactly.
This could go anywhere, right?
Yep.
Turns out they were broadly right. I mean, 2015, last 10 years, there's been real progress, and last 5 years, the kind of progress that makes everyone think that we're in 1975, not 1945, or maybe 80, whatever it is. So I am very bullish on the miniaturization of quantum computing. I think IonQ, business I'm very proud of, I took public, is the only company able to lead the charge on that because of the ion trap technology. They're partners with Lockheed Martin and the Air Force Research Lab, and all these people think that the F-35, like the cockpit of the future, the battlefield of the future, is going to have optimization at its core. So will autonomous, flight and drones and so on. And quantum computers should be really good for that. And I think so miniaturizing the vending machine to the cockpit, I think is an amazing opportunity. Okay. Most people, and the reason why I'm so long in quantum computing is most people don't realize that we will win at all optimization problems. That's what quantum computing is really good at, optimization problems. It's not good at things that require a really fast data bus to ingest, but like really good at optimization. And most business problems, or at least a lot of them, can be recast as an optimization problem, right? So here's where we're in quantum computing, and this is my sort of first one, and it might be my first 3, Bharat, given how passionate I am. We're at AQ36 at IonQ. In the next year to 2 years, the CEO has said they're trying to get to AQ64. Now, quantum computing is a doubly exponential sector, right?
Yep.
So it's not Moore's law where every 2 years we double.
Yep.
It's every time we add an algorithm logical qubit, we double. And IonQ can add one sometimes every quarter, right? So in the course of a year, you could be 16 times more power, you could be 32 times more powerful. In the next year, we might be 2 to the power 20 more powerful, right? And so AQ64 will be a chat GPT moment, so to speak, where people go, for certain problems, 2 to the power 64 is more processing power than any supercomputer, right? With 1/10 the power consumption. That is a big, big statement. Next milestone is AQ256 after that. And AQ256 is more computing power than all the computing power in history, accumulated together for certain optimization problems. Not everything, certain problems. But that's going to happen by the end of the decade. And so, the reality here is, that old adage that humans overestimate what they do in a year and underestimate what they do in 10 years, boy, is quantum computing on that curve. And so will robotics for certain jobs. 10 years from today, absolutely a lot of warehouses will have, humanoid robots in them. They are already working on it. And 10 years from today, quantum computing is going to be where GPUs are. It's part of the business, $1 trillion business. How is it not something we do? That's just something we do for certain classes, problems. Whether or not it'll be a love mark, I don't know. I don't people don't love CPUs and GPUs. There isn't really a human relationship around that. But businesses will love it.
I want to go there. Get out of your business mode and get out of your technical world. What's a love mark emotional product for you that you admire? You don't have to use it. You admire.
I use them. There's Italian cars that I think check those boxes.
They do,
right? I'm a big fan of them, I actually think that when you want to see the future, the old adage, look at the world's wealthiest people today, and that tends to be something that's coming to everybody. That's been true for 10,000 years, right? So we all have heated floors now. It's a time when that was a big deal. We all have plumbing and electricity, right? Most people have flown on an airplane, driven in a car, right, been on a motorcycle. What's fascinating to me is that the production, price point, and profitability of a Ferrari, Lamborghini are increasing, and the businesses are vastly bigger today than they were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? And as the world becomes more roboticized and quantum computery, you're getting more people going I personally think people will miss the sound of a combustion engine. I really do. I think people will apply more value to hand-built in Maranello, hand-built in Sant'Agata, when everyone otherwise is forced to drive an electric car and this sort of mass-produced, it's not that exciting. And so, I don't have a luxury good love mark. Okay, Patek Philippe watches, okay? Those are the same thing, they're handmade. In a world where you can all have an electric watch that tracks your pulse, these are crushing it. Italian and French luxury brands, men and women, are doing really great, right? There's a reason why France's wealthiest man, right, has been in the luxury business his whole career. And he just keeps going, right? He owns a lot of a firm that was nowhere 20, 30 years ago today, whatever, $400 billion market cap and, whatever. And so this is the dichotomy for humans and emotions and love and passion and products that I find really interesting, which is that we're growing the human side at the same rate as we're growing the machine side. So if you looked at the economy and you looked at the amount of machine learning that's going on, and you looked at the growth in luxury goods, handmade businesses, they're on the same curve, right? It's really fascinating. Every 10 years, I can bet that Louis Vuitton and Pinault and Arnault are you wouldn't bet that they have a $400 billion market cap. I think it's Arnault, right? Pinault's smaller. It would be hard for anyone to take a bet against the following statement: in 10 years, the Pinault empire, Arnault empire, it could be $1 trillion. That's not impossible, right? At least in nominal terms, it could be $1 trillion business. It's going to grow at least the rate of inflation. It might grow sometimes at double that or 50% more, right? Same thing is happening meanwhile in what's going on in consumer electronics and phones and right. And so this is to me what makes products interesting, what makes Carney's business interesting. It's what makes my portfolio business interesting to me personally. Is I'm watching this hardware, software, love mark, human emotion, human passion thing all grow the economy together and all aspects of the economy.
That was a pretty cool thing that I have heard. Luxury and AI having the same trajectory. Well, that was Niccolo, from quantum computing to luxury to Italian cars and watches. Thank you, Niccolo. That was a very inspiring discussion. A very different way to look at the product. Really enjoyed it.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.